Hello and welcome to The Real Entrepreneurs with Sergio Angulo. I'm your host, Sergio Angulo, yours truly. And we're bringing this podcast to you from San Diego, California during the Latitude Conference. And this is episode number 5. Today we have two amazing guests on the show. The one and only Madison Gorgone and Denise Serrano. Welcome.
Yay, thanks for having us.
Thank you. No, thank you so much for being on the show. We're super excited to have you on. Honestly, don't tell anybody. You guys are the most exciting ones. Okay, I'm just saying.
As long as you don't say that to everyone.
I know.
Yeah.
I might be actually.
We better not watch.
Literally every episode is going to be the same thing. You guys I'm so excited to have you guys on. No, but honestly, it's such a pleasure. Thank you for accepting the invitation, and let's just jump right into it, okay?
All right.
So let's start off with you, Madison. Tell us, what is a top producing real estate agent?
So real estate agent, we have a lot of hats to wear, but at the core value or the core foundation of the job itself is to help people buy, sell, or lease homes. We can also do commercial as well, but what that can entail is, if someone wants to buy a house, they come to me and say, I want to buy a house. This is my budget. I'm looking for this many bedrooms, bathrooms, all the criteria of the home. Once they have their budget established, I help them search for that home that they really like in the area that they like also. And once they're ready to submit an offer on a house they love, we submit the offer and go through the escrow process. There's a lot of little details that go within that whole job.
Like a very summarized version. I like
yes,
it. Okay.
Yes. But at the end of the day, we as real estate agents are there to help someone buy or sell their home or even rent them out as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. Good answer. I like that. Denise, tell us, what is a lender?
So what a mortgage lender does is when someone doesn't have the cash to come in, full cash to buy a property, the client looks at us for financing.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And you help them with that process and getting them the financing.
From getting them pre-approved to the escrow process. And once we do have them pre-approved, we hand them over to the realtor and say, hey, they're pre-approved for this amount, this is their budget, and then they move forward from there.
So you're like the money lady.
Yeah.
You're the
I'm Miss Moneybags.
You're Miss Moneybags. There you go. The money bag emoji. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm the home girl.
And then you're the
she's the home girl.
Moneybags
and home girls, what they call it.
I like that. So, I think the goal of this, show really is to hear the stories of badass entrepreneurs. That's really the main goal. So tell me, what is your stories? What's your story?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So my story is a little bit different because I, growing up, wanted to be an event planner. That's really where I started out as my career aspiration. When I went to college, I did entertainment and tourism with communications, and the whole plan was to be an event planner. So I pursued that for about 8 years after college, and honestly, it didn't really go the way I planned, which a lot of life really doesn't go the way we plan. Yep. And during that process, I had a really good friend of mine tell me that I should get into real estate. And I said, absolutely, fuck no, I'm not doing that. This is not happening.
I don't want that life.
Yeah, I'm not salesy. I don't want my face on a freaking billboard. Like, how lame is that? Like, people sit on my face on the bench. Like, no, I'm not doing that. And I had, no really connection to real estate and have a family member or friend that was in it. So I didn't know anything about it. And, when the event planning wasn't working out, I kind of took a step back and I said, maybe I'll just at least try it. I'm the master of trying things and not really sticking with them until I know it's right.
Yes.
So my story's just been trying so many different things, and that's kind of how I fell into real estate. And I don't like to say, some people say it from the bottom and then I got to here, but I started as a front desk position.
Oh, wow.
I don't think that's really from the bottom, because front desk positions, if you're good at your job, are really vital to the operation of a brokerage. Agreed. And I was also helping with their events, their marketing, their social media as well. And
you were getting your license during that kind of time?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I was at the front desk for about a year, and during that time I was studying for my real estate license. So I went into that position with the intention to get the license, and it allowed so many doors to open for me because I took that position at a lower paying job than, maybe what I was qualified for. But it allowed me to be a sponge in the business, and that's actually how I met Denise originally.
Oh, wow.
she would come to our events or come in the office, and I was like, "Hi, welcome to Relax Top Producers. Can I get you water? Can I get you coffee?
Can I be your friend?"
Best front desk lady, girl ever. I was like, who is this? Wait, front desk? Really?
Yeah. Looks like a badass.
Yeah. She always, I'd walk in, she knew my name. I was just like, very impressed.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
And so your career, kind of like what you were studying for, event planning, right? Tell us why and how did that not work out? Because I think that was influential in getting you into real estate, right?
Yeah, exactly. The reason it wasn't really working out, I feel like I wasn't connecting with a lot of people in that business, I guess.
Okay.
Also, I'm not really good at being told what to do.
Like most entrepreneurs, okay?
So the thing is, you can own an event planning company, but you really have to be kind of a bigwig to make good money doing that. And even then, you're at the mercy, literally, of your clients. You're working weekends, you're working 12, 13-hour shifts. So you're working for yourself, but really for the client. And we do that in real estate also. But I think there's a little bit more leverage or more flexibility,
right?
And personality of choosing who you want to work with, you know?
Totally.
So I was really heavy into brand marketing and expos and trade shows and things like that in LA. And nothing was sticking to where I felt like I was in the right place doing what I love. I love events, but yeah, so the fact that it didn't work out allowed me to be open-minded to new possibilities.
You mentioned something that was so interesting earlier. You said you kind of just started trying things, right? And I think in business and in just entrepreneurship in general, right, you test, right? It's constant testing. You're testing your marketing, you're testing your lead generation, you're testing your customer service, you're testing your team, right? And that testing and then collecting the data and then reevaluating and then going back, making modifications, that's really a characteristic that I see across multiple entrepreneurs. The fact that you have that and that you did that, you just started trying things. I mean, it's why you're successful. In my opinion, honestly, you're successful for a lot of other reasons, but I think it's the number one reason probably. It's something that I've seen across the board. So but thank you for sharing. Amazing. Mm-hmm. I love it. Denise, tell us, what's your story? What's the Denise? I love by the way, Serrano is my mom's last name. And so Denise Serrano, are we related?
We're trying to figure that out. Let's do blood tests and then we'll figure it out. That's what's going to come from this.
I love it. Well, it feels like we're family, honestly. You're so whenever I see you or whenever you come into a room, you're just so bright and you bring such good energy. So tell us, what is the Denise Serrano story?
So, my story is a little longer now that I've been in the industry 20 years.
Wow. 20 years.
And, I know, right? So I come from a real estate family. My dad's a realtor. I started putting the signs out for him by the time I was 9 years old. The first time I showed a property, I was 11 years old.
Wow.
I know.
11
years old. I know. My dad would double book appointments, and I already knew who he was going to show the property to. I'd get in their car and he'd say this is how you get in the property. And I'd walk in there and just kind of, nervous as heck, right? Because I'd go in their car and then I would just, walk around. And just started showing properties at that age.
Wow. Such big difference, right?
I know, right?
You don't come from any background in real estate, really, or family or anything like that, and then you're just an entire real estate family. I'm sure that was influential, right?
It was, but it's not what I wanted to do. Quite honestly, it was not. It was not. I strive to be a realtor. I strive to be a lender. But for me, it happened in the long term.
Okay.
So
tell me more about that. It wasn't what you wanted to do necessarily. What is it that you wanted to do? I want to hear
I think for me, it was go to college, do these things. Okay. It was more, I'm more of a math girl. So I wasn't thinking, I wasn't exactly sure, but at 17, I had my daughter. So for me, it was more it was an opportunity that presented itself to me when I was 19. My daughter's father had gone to jail and I needed quick income. So and within that week, I was offered a job as an assistant, a mortgage lender's, top producing mortgage lender assistant. And I took it. I was of course, I need something. So it was to provide for my daughter. Wow. And then I was an assistant for quite a good amount of time because I was introverted. I didn't want to do the sales side of things. I was just like, that's not for me. I mean, I remember I'd go crying home at night, like dealing with first, second, and third down payment assistance, all of these things. And the clients that said first, second, third, all of these programs at 19. And I'd be like, really, is this really for me? And I think naturally I started just focusing on like the client, right? Like, who am I there? I'd say that the top lender wasn't all about his clients, but I was the assistant that was there to make up for that. And that's how it, go ahead.
Take it back a little bit. You had your daughter, you're 19 years old. You're presented with this you mentioned that your ex-husband?
My ex.
Your ex. Okay.
No,
he went to jail.
Yeah, he went to jail.
So then it's like you need income, right?
I needed it, yeah.
And that push, right? That drive, that there's a need, right? From my opinion, it's either you sink or you swim.
Right.
Right. And I really think that true entrepreneurs, right? Real entrepreneurs, okay?
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Real entrepreneurs, that's where they swim, right? It's when you just there's a need, right? And you need to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
So it sounds like you did. You go into the lending industry. Did you hate it? Did you love it?
The first 10 months, I hated it.
10 months, exactly.
The first 10 months.
Okay.
But knowing that I needed it for my daughter, right? Like I had to, we were in a 1-bedroom, her and I needed to make sure I provided for her. And there was no other option. I'd, get up at 4 a.m, drop her off at my mom's and that's why like family is major, right? When it comes to like being like a single parent, just dropping her off at my mom's or at daycare. And then she had to go through it with me. Yeah. She was, 3, almost 4 years old, where she'd like wake up early mornings with me, getting dropped off,
office.
At night. And I'm 4 a.m, 5 a.m, drive to the office about an hour and a half away.
Wow.
And just, working, come back home about getting in that traffic, that 91. And
tell me.
Yeah. And then, going home to her 7, cooking for her. And it was just like starting again and again, right?
And doing it consistently.
Even
when you don't want to do it, right?
Exactly. It didn't matter. I had to provide for my daughter. I mean, her and I, there was a time where we lived in a hotel.
Wow.
Right. So it's I needed to make sure I showed her a different life. Yeah. And that was, for me, that was my motivation. She's always been my motivation.
And you mentioned that you were introverted, right?
It's major.
I totally don't see it because like literally, just to let everybody know, we're in San Diego, right? And so we have this Airbnb. Madison calls me, hey, we're here. I go downstairs. As I'm walking them up to the Airbnb, Denise is videotaping the entire thing. So tell me, how is that introverted? Right? Clearly now you've overcome that, right? So
right.
Amazing, because I honestly, I cannot see how you were at any point because you're such, your personality is just so welcoming, right? And you're,
right.
So, for me, completely opposite, honestly. When I started in the business, you mentioned that the first 10 months were difficult for you, right?
Right.
When I started, the first 5 months were amazing. It was the best thing ever. I thought this was real estate. I had 5 clients buy all cash.
What?
Literally, the first 5 months.
That's luck.
Literally,
beginner's luck.
Luck at its
It was the carrot dangling in front of him.
Yes.
Like, here you go.
No financing, no contingency.
Nothing.
Wow.
15-day closes and boom, huge checks in my bank account. So I was like, wow, I want to do this literally forever. Like this is the easiest thing I've ever experienced, right? No, but like honestly, it was just so easy. And for me, it was the first couple months were just extremely easy, and then reality check, right?
Yeah.
After that, it was just like learn how to lead gen, learn how to provide customer service, learn how to do all these things that are not really me. Like let's just do everything and let's have fun and like doesn't matter what happens, right? And real estate is partially that, right? Entrepreneurship is partially that, but then there's like so much more, right? That goes behind it. And that's where it was a reality check for me. So the next couple of months were difficult until I adapted and learned and all that good stuff. But But yeah, I mean, so now you're been in it for 20 years. What is Denise Serrano doing now?
For me, it's just providing value for my clients, and not just that. It's like I blend everything together, from like the things that I do for fun and then for my clients, and it's just providing value for my clients and my realtors and my business partners is what I do.
Like Madison,
Yeah.
right?
I will attest to that.
She's got a point right now.
Yeah. I think I follow both of you, right? Mm-hmm. Part of your story is not just work and your career, but you guys also do like a lot of nonprofit work.
Yes,
Tell us a little bit about the nonprofit that you're part of. You guys build homes in Mexico, right?
Right.
We do, yeah.
Yeah. Like she said, she provides values to her business partners and realtors, which I'm one of those. And she opened up my eyes to building the homes in Mexico. My first one, we're in what month right now? September. Right? Or September.
It was in May.
The first one was in May. So that was my first one. She's been doing them for 7 years, had been telling me about it. And then COVID hit, so they weren't doing the build, so I wasn't able to. So beginning of this year, we had the opportunity to host a house build project together. She can speak a lot more to it than I can, but from my experience, it changed my life completely. And I know that's kind of cliche and people toss that phrase around a lot, but I can say how it changed my life specifically, which it grounded me in a way that I am definitely part of the problem, where we get sucked into real estate and social media and image and being skinny and healthy and all these things, right? All these expectations and judging each other. Yeah.
How much you're producing.
And I wish, at my core, I'm not about it, but I would be lying if I say I don't feed into it.
Totally.
I think it's natural, right? It becomes an addiction in some way. And sometimes I feel addicted to social media and appearing a certain way. So the reason it changed my life at the biggest level is that I'm going to get emotional, but when you see someone that doesn't even have a floor and that it gets muddy and they're having floods coming through the house and that they're happy to play with one ball and a wheelbarrow, you realize it doesn't matter if I feel fat today, or it doesn't matter that I have a nice car. I drive a Honda Civic. I don't really care about cars. But it takes you to a totally different mindset. And that's how it changed my life for me, is that when I start feeding into the snowball effect of worrying about things that don't matter, I just go back to that place of just seeing the family, how happy they are to get keys to a new house that has insulation and a lock on the door. And it brings me back.
And they literally have
They have nothing.
Nothing.
They make shacks out of pieces of cardboard and scraps of wood.
And these are kids. Full families.
Families, yeah.
Yeah,
Families.
so we just went in September and built another house, and that was a single mom with 3 children and then a grandchild. It's a tiny twin bed and a dirt floor. That's what they're sleeping on. That's it.
Yeah.
Wow. What's the name of the organization?
It's called Baja Bound.
Baja Bound.
Yeah, Baja Bound.
Wow. I definitely have to check them out.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I guess what's really important to me is it sounds like you have both gone through some challenging times, right? But what's one goal? What I really want my listeners to know is what's the one goal that you've reached in your career that you're just really proud of?
I'd say for me it was reaching top producer status, top 1%, but
top 1%.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Wow.
but what
amazing.
comes I don't like accolades, right?
No,
but for me,
congratulations.
But
that's not that.
it's what's
99% of the people that work in the business cannot say that. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. But for me, it was what I can show to my daughter, right? Like you push for something, you want something, you go out and get it. And for me, that to me was more important. So it wasn't really about the goal. It's what can you, for me, it was having that just my family support, my daughter's support. Cause she once wrote me a letter and she's like, you're my hero. And to me, that's,
Your daughter wrote you a
for me,
letter.
I'd say that's the goal. My daughter told me that I'm her hero.
Making her proud, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
Wow. Madison, what's that one goal that you've reached so far in your career?
So, again, my background didn't really come from real estate. I wasn't involved in it really in any way. And even with that, I didn't have any goals of being a homeowner, to be honest. I thought I would just rent for a while. It wasn't really important for me. I was hopping around to a lot of different jobs, so I would save for a while and then spend money, and so I didn't really have a good savings. And the jobs that I had were just all over the place, so I didn't really have a lot of stability. So I think that also fed into my lack of wanting to own a home because I wasn't stable anyways. So my goal for me so far, I've been licensed for about 2.5 years, so I'm still relatively new in the business. But I did purchase my
2.5 years?
2.5 years.
And you're killing it.
Oh,
What?
thank you.
That's amazing.
I got licensed in 2020 in February, and then COVID hit in the next month.
The next month.
Yeah.
And you just like took it head on.
Yeah, totally. Just went full blown speed.
I mean, if I had to just say like that one goal, like the fact that you went into the business right when COVID hit, and you just, so many people just like hid under a rock.
Right, they retracted.
Yeah, retracted, and you just like, boom.
Yeah.
But sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
What's that goal?
So at the time, I was living at home with my parents when I got licensed. You know, I didn't make money for the first 4 months. It wasn't like Sergio over here with freaking cash deals, just rolling in the dough. I was out there busting my ass, driving around, and it was hard for me.
Gas money. Right?
Yeah, and I thankfully saved before because I this was part of the plan. So I sold my car. I had a nicer car. I sold it to get the Civic. I had that money as my savings for the first couple months. Wow. And that's what I used to survive during that time because you still have bills when you're starting out as an entrepreneur. You have a lot of bills.
Yep.
So once I started closing deals, I did like 8 my first year within like the first 6 months, I guess, because it took me 4 months to do my first deal.
Yeah.
So it's about 6 months that I did 8 deals.
6 months, 8 deals.
Yeah.
That's more than a deal per month. In your first 6 months, you did 8 transactions?
Yeah.
Crap. I don't know. I mean, I talk to a lot of agents, honestly. I know agents that have been in the business for 5 years and they only do maybe a deal every quarter.
Wow.
You know, and it's like, I mean, that's really amazing. I mean, I've done a lot of deals. Like my first year, it was, I think, luck, honestly, a lot of it. But after that, like I thought that was normal, right, for a long time. So meeting someone like you that's just done so many transactions just from the very get-go is really interesting.
And also what a lot of the agents don't like to talk about are leases.
Yes.
So I did 8 transactions, like sales, and then I did 3 or 4 leases also.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I was also doing leases and, the buying and selling also. But after that, so I get back to the question, my biggest accomplishment so far was buying my first home 1.5 years in the business. Wow. So I took all that savings that I made during that time, I budgeted, and I bought my first condo, and I also rehabbed the whole thing as well.
You rehabbed the entire...
It was a total fixer, and I rehabbed the whole thing. And that was all my own money, too.
Beautiful.
Wow. I need to see pictures.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was a mess when I got it. It was ugly.
And you just like completely redid it.
Yeah.
Tell us.
She like knocked it down also.
Boom,
yeah.
like
my dad and I took out the kitchen ourselves. I scraped off the popcorn ceiling.
You documented all of that?
For the most part.
Some of it. That's
it.
amazing. I mean, a couple years from now, that's going to be gold, honestly. That's your story. I mean, you're going to go some really high places for sure. And that having that story is just almost priceless, honestly. Tell me more about your experience purchasing that first property.
Well, when we're guiding clients, right, I'm guiding them, especially on my first deal. I didn't even know what contingencies were, so I didn't even know how to explain those. Neither did you because they were cash.
They weren't even there, honestly.
They weren't even there. So I didn't even know about contingencies. But as you go through the business, you learn more and more, and you're guiding. But I always felt this a little bit, and this is just my experience. I'm not saying you have to buy a house to know how to guide your clients, but I just felt like there was a lack of knowing what they were going through because I didn't go through it myself. So I also wanted to do it as like a research project 100%. And I wanted to demo the place and rehab it because I wanted to be able to guide my clients on rehabbing their places. I wanted to be able to know the lingo and be able to tell them, hey, I did it too. Look at what I did. So I'm not just talking out of my ass. I actually know what I'm talking about. Yeah, totally. So I forgot the question.
No, it's okay. No, just your experience with purchasing. I mean, honestly, like when I purchased my first property, I felt like, I mean, I'm a bookworm. I study a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Like I really read. I've read the whole contract multiple times. Nice. all 18 pages. But like, what's interesting is like when I purchased my first property a couple years into the business, it gave me a completely different perspective, right, on what you're feeling while you're in escrow.
Yeah.
Right. And with that is priceless, honestly. So totally can relate in terms of, you know, how important it was for you to kind of experience that firsthand.
Yeah.
When you started demoing the property, what were some of the challenges that you had there? Like, how did that go? I mean, you said your dad was there to help you?
Yeah, so my dad and my brothers, it became a whole family affair, which I'm very grateful to my family.
Italian?
They're Italian, yeah.
There you go.
My dad's Italian, yeah. We don't come in one, we come in a whole pack. With a lot of pasta, a lot of vino, and a lot of loud noises and hand gestures. Totally cliche. But so I have two brothers, my dad, my uncle, and even my other uncle too. They all kind of came. My mom brought food and snacks. It was a whole thing. But I did have their help. But honestly, the biggest struggle was finding a contractor that wasn't trying to scam me. And Denise, I recruited her because she's fluent in Spanish. So we would pick up, some random contractors, come on over, and they would try to mess with me. And she knew Spanish. So then she'd be like, oh, no, they're not good.
I'm like,
you take out the papo?
I'm like, I don't like this.
It's not happening. Pa fuera.
Yeah, I was like, afuera. Like, I know enough, I know you're trying to fuck with me, and I'm not cool with that.
Vete. Oh, no, what did we say earlier? What was it? We said something.
Perdón.
Perdón.
Perdón. Un momento. Para mí, por favor.
Perdón. Oh, I love it. Well, Denise, good. You were there for her to kind of help her out. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I had to negotiate even with my own house. Wow. But when it is your own house, the emotional attachment to it affects your judgment a lot.
Totally.
I will attest to that 100%. For sure.
The first property I purchased, financing barely made it. Honestly, it was totally trashed. The first thing my dad told me is, give me the keys, come back in 3 months. He took care of everything for me.
Really?
You're kidding me.
I'm so grateful. Honestly, it sounds kind of like, oh my gosh, you have a dad that did all the heavy lifting for you. But if I would have done it, my emotions would have gotten involved in so many different parts, right? Because I'm a control freak. I want everything to be perfect. I want to choose colors. I want everything, right? So he just told me to come back in 3 months. And he did exactly what we needed to do.
But you didn't choose
nothing.
Anything?
Wow.
I
was at Home Depot sitting on toilets testing the height for myself.
She would send me pictures. She'd be like, what do you think of this color? What do you think of this color?
And the reason really why I did it that way, and I'm so grateful for my dad, is because it would have affected my production at the time. I was in a moment where I was just trying to level up. Every month I was trying to do double. And I was trying to build capacity and everything. So it really helped. Having family that supports you,
it's
crucial,
everything.
Right? It's everything, honestly.
Yeah, and honestly, from my perspective, it did affect my production because I was so busy with the house. Because I was at the stores, I was picking out the tile, I did everything myself. My mom was there helping me a lot. I mean, I didn't do it fully, but that took away from my business a lot. So I totally know why you did what you did, because it affected me in the opposite way. I had to kind of recuperate after and get the momentum going again, because at the time that I bought my house, I had 7 escrows at one time, and also my own. Yeah, and
your own transaction.
And my own transaction.
Oh my God.
And I was dealing with all of that, and so I didn't even start working on the house for a month because I was so busy with everything else with my business. So I finally had to take a step back and say, I need to get my house done. But then that took away from my business. So it's kind of you have to decide what works for you. Yeah. I had to come to terms with my business isn't going to grow as much as I wanted to, but this is important to me to do my own thing and get my house ready to go. And now I'm thankful for that.
Totally. And because you were living there as well, right? I mean, I was in this property that it was a duplex. We rehabbed it. I wasn't really living there. So, but you were going to be living there. Super important for you to pick out the height of the toilet, right? Yeah. I get it. Trust me. I totally understand.
And let me tell you, the height's perfect.
It's perfect. Okay. Test it and prove it?
I can attest.
You can attest.
It's
perfect. Tell me, this one's a quick question, really, but I'm a new agent. I'm a new lender, right? Mm-hmm. Just got my license. I want to go into the business. What's one skill that I should prioritize?
I think the main skill is going out there and starting to talk to people. I mean, you'll learn as you go. Yes, you get your NMLS license. You know all that. You have to just study your products. Obviously, do that at night. But that skill, you have to go out there and just prospect. You got to start prospecting. You start connecting with realtors, tax accountants, all of that. That's the main skill because that's your bread and butter.
So just get out there.
You get out there.
Start talking to people.
Talking to people, yeah.
What about for a realtor?
I think prospecting for sure, the more people that you can talk to. I think what a lot of people don't always talk about, which is very, very important, is mentorship and being able to rely on somebody else when you're new. I'm very headstrong. I don't like to ask for help. And that was the biggest skill I had to tackle, was being able to ask for help. When you're stuck in a bind, you don't just call one person. You have to call like 7 people. Some people don't answer, or, I was on a team, so I had a mentor. But being able to rely on them and allow them to help you through the beginning stages, and also building your team. So your mentor, your home inspector, your home warranty, people don't realize, I'm the one handing the keys, but a lot of people miss out on the whole freaking team that it took to get those keys to the buyer. So it's being able to make those relationships with not only your clients, but your team. Because the better your team is and the more solid they are, the more you can perform, and actually provide a better service to the clients.
And build capacity, right? I
Yes.
mean, I'm always about like the numbers, and if I know like how many people I need to speak to every month to get X amount of escrows, right? Or how many team members I need to have, et cetera, et cetera. So totally 100%. So just both kind of really build your team, make those connections, right? And then just get out there and talk to people.
And that mentor.
And get a
for
mentor.
me, I had my mentor.
Oh,
like
okay.
From as soon as I started in the industry, like he was my mentor till he just retired.
Wow.
And I'm still pissed off at him.
How dare he retire?
Get him back on retain.
Greg Mullery.
He's like Tom Brady.
Wait,
But he's
coming
still my
back.
mentor. I still
Brady.
call him up. I just
What's
saw him
his
the
name?
other day. Greg Mullery. Yeah.
Greg,
Yeah.
you're listening.
Yeah.
Shout out.
He's my work dad.
Work
He's
dad.
always my
Oh,
work dad.
I actually just met him last
Yeah.
week. He's
really?
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Mentor Madison, who's that for you?
My mentor is Christian Fuentes,
Oh, okay. Broker of
Remax Top Producers.
Remax Top Producers.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Turns out he's actually my next door neighbor to my parents.
Really?
Yeah, so when I was living at home, he was living next door. Honestly, I don't really talk to the neighbors that much.
Got it.
And I had no idea what they did or what they were about, but he ended up being my mentor fast forward
Wow.
years later.
So he's like, Madison, I see the car still in your driveway. Get up. Let's get to work.
I can never be late to work because he knew I was
We knew
late.
you were there. I'm just joking. No, I mean, well, that's definitely. Thank you for sharing. I mean, I think that's really helpful, right? There's so many young people, especially in the last couple of years, I've noticed getting into lending, getting into real estate. I think they need to hear that, right?
Right.
They sometimes social media sometimes makes us believe that there's these other skills that you need to put priority on, and yes, other skills are important, right? But like what you guys just said and shared, it's super, super important. It's a deal breaker, right? You really need to get out there and connect with people. You need to bring good people around you, have a mentor, and, make a team, connect with your team. So agreed, 110%. Denise, I want to ask you this. You've gone through a lot, right? You got into the business, kind of rushed into it. The first couple months were difficult. You had your daughter with you. You were staying in a hotel for a period of time, right? What's your opinion on work-life balance?
So I don't feel like I had a work-life balance.
Still, or like before?
Now it's just all blended together. I love it, right? I'm working, but then I'm having fun at the same time. I'm, hiking, but meeting people. You're doing nonprofit. It's just all just kind of blended together. So I wouldn't say there's a balance. Yes, there's a time where you can't answer a client at a certain time, right? You put that time aside and you call it an appointment, but it's really like personal, right? Where it's like spending time with my mom or spending time with my daughter. But I'd say I don't have a set time where I'm completely off. I know when it's going to be, or I put it in the calendar, but when my daughter was little, right, the balance was just like, hey, I'll get home eventually later on, and then I'll come cook for her, and she'll come running to me, or she'll be hiding. She would always play hide and seek, and she'd be hiding from me, and that was like, for me, that was my moment, right?
Sure.
And when I would spend time with her, it was her at all times. Like I was just focused on her. When she got older, then she would know, like, hey, mom's on a phone call. We're at dinner, you know, out having dinner, but it's okay. Like, I have my client. She understood my clients were also very important. And why? Because they provide for her, right? I close, you know, transactions. Therefore, money to the bank account. She's happy.
I like that, yeah.
You know, so that to me was the balance. Is she grew up pretty much in the industry as well. That was my balance. As long as she understood, and you know, she knew that the vacations being paid for were the clients that we were happy. Then that was my balance. I'd say. Yeah.
You know, I've been asking this question, and then I want to get to you, Madison, because I want to hear your. Because you know, I feel like we relate a lot. We connect, right? I've been asking this question to the guests that we've had on the last couple of days here, and you know, I've had a hard time with work-life balance. And this is a reason why I'm almost selfishly asking this question, because I want to hear what it is that others are doing. I'm having a hard time with it. I've had a hard time with it. I'm having a hard time with it now. I really just like everything's just together. There's no separation. Right. And I just started kind of time blocking my calendar, like personal time, right? But really for the last 3 years, that didn't exist. I mean, I would take a call at 1 a.m, you know, wake up and just take it and just do it, right? And so, you know, missing holidays, missing birthdays. I haven't seen my parents in like 2 months, even though they live one city over, right? Like, so what's one advice, someone that's just like, it's completely like all together, right? It's like, and they're having a hard time with it. What can I do differently to fix that and to create, maybe not make it perfect, right? And have a perfect work-life balance, but like, what's something that can help me out with kind of the situation that I'm in?
That's a little difficult for me, because even when I go to my parents' house, because my dad, almost like a retired realtor, like I'm there and I have, if I have to get an estimate over, my dad understands, right? Yeah. So like I open the laptop and I'm plugging away. So I'm spending time with my parents, but then I'm also working. I was just there at their house. I do schedule time with my parents.
Got it.
So I do, I shoot for once a week Sundays. That's what I shoot for. And I shoot for always bring my mom flowers on Sundays, but it doesn't work out a lot of the times, because sometimes we're like hiking or we're doing things or we're doing nonprofit, but I shoot for that. And I know that I'm not going to come up to the once a week. It's probably going to be once every 2 weeks. But for me, I mean, it's a little difficult to explain. I mean, or to...
So like time block, you would say maybe the...
I'd say just time blocking. Like, I know that Sundays are like I don't tell my parents I'm going to be there on Sundays.
Got it.
Always, because then they're going to expect me.
Commit.
So I don't tell them. I just happen to be like, and if they listen to them, they're like, oh, Sunday's coming up. I can't. So I don't like making commitments that I'm going to break. That's one thing I don't like to do.
It's almost like accepting that our industry is fluid, right? Like our day has to be kind of fluid.
It has to be very malleable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just has to be like move. And the friends that I have, my social circle, a lot of them are realtors.
And they understand that.
And they're the friends that aren't realtors actually don't understand. Because I've had it where I was sitting there with a friend on a Friday and I was on a call with the client for like 40 minutes. And because she wasn't in the industry, she was like,
what the heck?
What was that all about? Yeah. Like, this was our time. And, you know, where it was if it's someone within the industry, they might understand, right?
100%.
So, yeah, it's just, I guess, time blocking and knowing that, like, someone in the industry is going to understand, someone that's not in the industry or not an entrepreneur is not going to understand. So you actually do have to set that time aside. And it was something like I learned about that friend. It was like, dang, like, this is her time. So I do need to make sure I block it for her and not take a call.
Yeah. Wow. I think what's interesting is creating those like meaningful relationships with people, right? I've found that I've had a hard time connecting with people in the industry, just because my personality type, I think, doesn't necessarily mesh well with, like, you know, like I feel like realtors are all about like fancy cars and just like posting on social media all the time and like showing off a lot. And that's not really like who I am, right? So I've had a hard time finding friends that are also realtors.
Authentic.
Well, I mean, they're authentic to themselves,
Yes.
I guess, right? But like, it's just finding people that I connect with and then thus understand why I'm going to take a 40-minute call during our lunch, right?
Yeah.
So it's something that
Come hang out with our friends.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what
You'll
we get along
understand.
so
I think.
well.
I think it's just you'll eventually find them,
Find them.
right?
It takes
Not
time.
that you're looking
Yeah.
for them. Like I was being an introvert. I had like one friend in my 20s. Like I was fine. I'm a mom. I don't need
Literally
friends.
me.
I'm good. Like I was okay. I was not searching for friends, nor did I care to go look for them. Right? They just like naturally happened doing the nonprofit work because like-minded people do like-minded things. And for me, it was like finding the friends. Also, I have a lot of friends through the nonprofit work that we do. So, and you'll attract those people. You're not out there to search for them. You're attracting.
the reason I joined NAREP is literally for that, in all honesty. I mean, it's to connect with people that are in the industry and that, you know, are good people and that kind of mesh well with me, I guess. So,
Right.
Madison, tell me, work-life balance, what's going on there? what's your opinion on it?
So you remember earlier when you were saying that a lot of entrepreneurs try things out. We're constantly trying things out. We're constantly innovating. I think I've never been the type of personality where I get set in my ways. I move a lot. I change a lot of jobs. Real estate is something, though, that keeps me grounded. But even within real estate, we're always trying new things, right? So work-life balance, I definitely did not have it. I mean, again, I'm only 2.5 years in the business, but I've learned very quickly that I can easily lose myself to the business because I care about the client so much and I care about being successful. And I ultimately, you know, I don't have my own children, I'm not married. And it's so funny because people are like, well, then what's your why? And I'm like, oh, God forbid I have a why without kids.
Without kids.
No offense, but like,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's a great why.
Yeah,
But I think there's a lot of single people that they think we have no life
Yep.
and we have all this free time. Like, oh, you don't have kids. Oh, you don't have a husband. You can do everything.
That's why you're successful.
Yeah.
Totally. I've
But
listened
what
to- I've
people
heard
don't
that.
see on the back end is that I'm constantly being pulled in so many different directions. Family, friends. Oh, you're not single. I mean, you're single. You don't have kids. So you have, they think I have all this free time.
NAREP.
Not right. Everything. So for me, the work-life balance, well, you know, I got started in COVID time, so nobody was really doing anything. So it actually worked out because I just focused really hard on the business and not a lot of social things were happening. But then once social things started coming back, I really, really struggled. This past year has been really, really difficult for me as far as figuring out what work-life balance is for me. And I'll be honest, like, I don't always tell a lot of people, but I started having a lot of panic attacks. I've never had panic attacks in my entire life. And I have a lot of anxiety and I deal with a lot of, you know, criticism on myself. That's kind of what a lot of my why is. It's just because I'm fighting through these criticisms in my head every day from the moment I wake up. And then trying to say yes to everybody and be everywhere at once has caused me to have panic attacks. And so now the past few months I've been taking a step back and trying to figure out how I can be healthy mentally with all of this because people are every single day asking me for something. And at some point it's like, well, what about me? Yeah. Like why can't I ask myself for something or do something for myself? And so I'm trying to figure that out, honestly. I don't have it mastered, so I can't really give advice. Yeah. But what I can say is that I've had to take so many steps back and say, for what? If I'm having a panic attack and I can't even make it to an appointment because I'm crying in my room by myself, who's there for me? Yeah. Are my clients there? No. Are my friends? Is that person that wants to take me out to lunch so they can feed off of my success? Are they here with me right now while I'm crying and stressed out? No. I'm here by myself dealing with this. Yep. I might call a friend, but when you have a panic attack, it's like your world is ending. And I have to literally...
It's all caving in, right?
It's all caving in. It takes me 2 hours to get out of it. I had to take deep breaths. I've tried so many different things. And for what? Like, to be top producer? That's not my goal. My goal is to sell real estate, to be involved with nonprofit, to be healthy, and to see my family. Because at the end of the day, when I'm on my deathbed, who's going to be there? My parents, maybe, hopefully.
Your sphere of influence? I don't think so.
Yeah, my sphere of like social media, like my likes.
No.
And I've said that in the beginning of this podcast. I feed into it. Yeah. I will 100% admit it. I get sucked in. I get addicted. For what? Like, they're not going to be there when I'm dying. Or if I get cancer today, are those followers going to be there? Maybe some of them might be. But some of like the committed ones, my big fans will probably be there.
What's the thing on Instagram? You see, I'm not even that good at social media, but what's the like where only your friends see it?
The close friends.
Close friends.
Close friends.
Only the close friends will be here.
Yeah, are going to be there.
They'll be the ones giving me flowers, hopefully. You know.
You said something that's just really hit home. Two things. Once you're on your deathbed, who's going to be there? I had an agent that's been in the business for 40 years tell me, Sergio, stop. You need to stop. I stopped going to the gym. I just was like caving in the office. I was getting to the office at 7:30 in the morning, leaving at 11:30, coming back, doing that 7 days a week for months. And this agent came in and said, Sergio, you need to stop. Like, when you're on your deathbed, none of those clients are going to be there. You know what's going to happen? They're all going to reach out to the next agent on Zillow that they're going to press a button on. The algorithm's going to tell them who to call, and that agent's going to go show them the house, and they're going to buy with that agent. So you need to stop. It's good to care. It's super important, right? But you need to put those boundaries. And luckily, I just recently, literally in the last 4 months, I've started to put those boundaries. Started, time blocking. Started doing all the things that I need to be doing to like understand that, right? And I think it's because we're super emotional type of people, right? Like we give it our all. Yeah. We're like invested. It's not about the money. It's not about the top producer status. It's about
making sure they're happy.
Love, right? And we take it so personal, right?
Yeah.
So that was really, honestly, I'm experiencing that. The second thing is saying yes to everything. I say yes to literally everything. And it's kind of bad sometimes. It's been great. There's been a lot of moments where it was like really good. But especially like during the holidays, this past like holiday season, or like 8 months ago already.
Yeah. We're about to hit another holiday season right now.
Exactly, literally. So I better have learned my mistakes last time. That Christmas, Thanksgiving, holiday season, like I just said yes to everything. All the parties,
the food,
everything.
I love the food.
I love the food, especially Italian food.
Yeah, so good.
Wait, do we do?
Bon appetite.
Pasta. So like I just said yes to everything, and I've learned to like pull back, right? Like you don't always have to say yes, right? And someone that doesn't understand, and I think partially it's because I'm worried about how they're gonna feel.
Yes.
Right?
Me too.
And so like I've realized like if someone is gonna be upset because like you said no to a specific time frame that they had to invite you to something, and they're going to be upset about that, then maybe that they shouldn't be someone that's close to you, right? I've realized that, we have so much time in this world, right? We're gonna be here almost forever, right?
Almost.
But then at the same
time,
so we think. But then at the same time, it's like a constant back and forth, right? Because we have infinite amount of time, but then we have such little time.
Yeah.
Right. So it's that grind against each other of really finding that middle ground. So I find it something I've been experiencing. So thank you for sharing.
Do you travel? I think for me at least.
Ooh. I used to travel a lot, and then I got into real estate.
Well, that's the thing. I think for the thing that resets me, I'd say is like even weekend trips for me. Every quarter, I'm you'll see us. We're planning something. We're traveling something. It's just a quick weekend, like Friday, maybe like Friday to Monday. I think for me it recharges me, right? And then it's a little bit of a reset. Yeah, you come back like a little bit disheveled because you're out, traveling. You have to get back into the groove, or as they say, grind, right? Which I'm not a fan of that word. No. But
groove, I like groove.
Right, I like groove.
Like in the groove
sounds better. Grind sounds like. But I'd say if you just take like little weekend trips, our
Good
weekend
advice.
trips are Mexico City.
And I think what's really important to like for me, because she's a big traveler, I'm a big traveler, but I didn't travel for like the first year and a half while being in real estate. So managing travel and business is really difficult. Yeah. But I had to accept I'm not going to be top agent anyways because that's not what I care about. I care about travel. Like if you take a step back and what do I care about? Do I care about tasting good food? Do I care about travel? Do I care about
experiences?
The gym experience. Yeah. Like we do have such short time, and if you don't close one extra deal that year, you have to decide for yourself. Are you okay with that? If you are okay with that, then take the experience. But if your life goal is to be top agent, then do that. But you're going to miss out on traveling.
Accept that.
You have to accept, to just choose one way and accept it.
Yeah.
But if you're closing that extra deal that month and looking at someone traveling over here and you're like, man, I really wish I got to travel, then maybe that one deal is not what you're really after.
Totally.
And somehow
you have to
when
decide.
we're traveling, we get deals.
We get deals.
We do.
So on my phone,
really? Okay.
Last year, just quick story. Last year we went to Oaxaca. I'd never been to Oaxaca.
Oh wow.
My phone got stolen 3 days in.
Oh my God.
I, as a realtor, anyone or lender, any entrepreneur, really.
End of the world.
I didn't have a phone for 5 days. Denise, thankfully, we called it the community phone. She let me log into her phone. We shared it. We passed it back and forth.
We had a community phone.
Yeah,
we did.
Oh my gosh.
It was a good experience. It was.
And you know what? That's when I realized I was addicted to social media, was that moment.
Because you couldn't.
I felt I couldn't check in.
Anxiety.
And I would I would borrow her phone, but I felt bad hogging it because it's her phone. It's not even mine.
No, we called it a community phone. It was not my phone.
We did. Yeah. But I would check in a little bit on Instagram and then I would give it back. But it was such a big eye-opener. And not having a phone and traveling back home from Mexico by myself was a huge challenge. Like it was a lot, and it's a long story which I won't get into. But on
the next episode.
Yes. Yeah, on the next episode.
Madison's story in Oaxaca without her phone.
But this is
welcome to the real entrepreneur.
Realtor without her phone.
Yeah, there you go.
But the funny part about it is that I had a seller lead trying to call me, and I never answered because I didn't have my phone.
Wow.
So when I got back, I got my phone, I checked in, I had a voicemail from a lead, from a postcard. It's like,
yeah.
Oh my God, like my first one. Yeah. So I call him right away and he's like, what realtor doesn't answer their phone? And I'm like, listen, I got my phone stolen in Mexico. I told him the whole story. I ended up getting the listing contract signed 4 days later.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're a rock star.
And closed it like a month later. So,
nice.
But it's just kind of funny because it's like the worst thing that you could ever imagine, like missing a seller lead call. Literally. But it still worked out, even when not having a phone. But yeah, travel brings good stuff.
Yeah, good
I like
juju.
that. Different perspective, right, on life. Almost when you travel, you go outside of your bubble. You get to meet new people, new experiences. Wow.
I mean, we were traveling and we go look at Airbnbs while we're traveling, like potential purchases. Like
and you know what's
involved business still.
Yeah.
What's a really big way
a
of
true badass entrepreneur, you know? We're traveling, but we're also
like
looking at Airbnbs. We're making investments, closing deals, seller leads. I like it.
Well, we have to know what's on the market. We have to know what's available, and then we share that with our clients.
Agreed.
Exactly.
I like it. Yeah. I like it. Well, that was the last question for the podcast. I just want to say honestly, sincerely, it was amazing. I had so much fun, lots of laughing. I think this is the most I've ever laughed on the podcast. Really good episode. Please tell our listeners, how can they connect with both of you?
Jeez.
Online.
Okay. So
Instagram,
Instagram, Denise _Serrano _
Okay.
And I'm just Madison Gorgone. If you Google Madison Gorgone, you'll come up on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Our job is to market ourselves.
Because she's famous, you guys. She's everywhere.
It's IG famous.
I love it. Well, you guys, thank you so much again. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.